Hello lovely people. So today we be kitchen witching. I have been cleaning my apartment all day today. It is a Saturday, hence I'm a little grubby gross, but we have a cute little shirt. Ghost host. And we're gonna make some butternut squash soup today. So I got one of those, chop it up, do all the good things. And yeah, this is one of my favorite things to do, is to get the kitchen witching going. I've got another little thing, a little pumpkin mini like hand pies that I wanna do, and other fun stuff like that. So, but that'll be probably another video, because yeah, that's a lot. But because I cleaned the space and then also cleansed the space beforehand, we have now good energies, nice even place to do a little kitchen witching. So let's get going. Let's see if we can. So, I don't know, there's something always so overall magical about making home cooked food, and it is so much of like putting your own intention to it and taking the time to look into what squash represents, what onions represent, what all these herbs represent, because even though I do know in the back of my mind, you know, life goes on, I forget, I get into habits of just cooking on autopilot and not making them a more witchy fun thing. And two, I think it's so much of a food being a marker of tradition and other delicious stuff. I mentioned in other videos that I've been looking into more Italian folk magic, since I'm clearly an American. Grew up in Chicagoland area, and very much my dad grew up working class Italian, and that was a lot of like the kind of food and culture and stuff that just got brought up when I was younger, with some feeds in of a little bit of Southern culture from my mom, and then a mix of Armenian, Middle Eastern culture, especially from my grandfather. And when his siblings, my extended cousins, all of that would come over, that was a little more rare, a little more on maybe a specific holiday or on family reunions type of deal. So the most prevalent one, I would say, of a culture that wasn't like blatant white American, very much for me was the Italian culture and the working class Italian culture that my dad came up in, showing people working in construction, all of us having certain meals that we make. The fact that my great-grandmother's house was right next door to my grandparents' house, that they like I can't remember if they helped build or did the plans, or there's something along those lines, right? And family was always close. There was that community, and cooking was a huge part of it. And it's fun though, because like this is not at all a traditional Italian recipe. It's not any of the things that any of my family used to make. There's specific dishes that I know, linguine and clam sauce specifically is very much associated with my father. A really delicious like old-fashioned marinara is what I associate with my great-grandmother. My grandmother had a really great pesto thing that she used to do for me all the time. And cooking and setting the table and like doing it in a pretty bowl and all that stuff was like important and very much a part of that thing. And so it's fun to like deep into that traditional aspect. And I love that so much of, for me at least, when I think of like my Italian culture, so much of that is it's stuff in the kitchen. That's where so much of that comes from. my main link to it, when I can think of it, is like weird superstitions or things people would tell me all the time. And food. Food was the biggest thing, because I didn't get taken to church because my dad and even my grandmother was very much against the Catholic Church by that point. Much more the New Age side of things they were into at that point. So religiously there's no much culture, so food was the main aspect of it. That was one of the things is I realized is each of them, I have a certain meal associated with each of them because they specifically really enjoy that meal. It was one of their favorites to make routinely, and that's something that I'm like, oh yeah, I love to cook and bake specifically in the fall. I have, they're kind of the first recipes I learned to really make and cooking by myself. There was something where like I looked into the recipe, I taught it to myself, I did the thing. Learning how to make soups and stuff was one, especially butternut squash or a pumpkin curry or something like that was the thing I taught myself, and I really enjoyed that independence and that I guess gumption to like look into it, and I've always really enjoyed how they turned out. It's also probably one of the first things I cooked for myself that also were actually good when they were done. Like I'm sure anyone else learning to cook, you know, when like you make the meal and even if you followed every instruction perfectly, there's a couple of meals where like you ate it because you're not wasting the food, but it's not good. Like, no thank you. And so I think that's one of the things I really love about fall in general, and it feels like a good little bit of a mix of like my familial culture that I'm trying to like embed more into my practice and things like that. It's one of the reasons I want to put more cooking magic into my life, is connecting with that like Italian side of stuff. But it's also a mark of my independence, a mark of my own personal journey with things, is very much cooking the meals I want to cook, even if they're not technically like traditional familial stuff, and the mixture of that. And I do actually have a lot of traditions in that way that are very particular, not to anything else. They're not familial or a tradition in the sense of I got it from anywhere else, a friend or a group of people or anyone else associated with it. It's something that I literally established entirely by myself, and I do it every year. I'd love to know your guys' ones down in the comments. What's something that like it helps to give you that super warm, cozy feeling that you kind of invoke and then create this energy around you, especially during these types of times? For me, it's cooking my favorite soups and curry recipes and having them be fall and spending a lot more time in my kitchen. This is when I start baking again. I'm all for it, and I established that probably not that long after getting into witchcraft, which was, so for me they're kind of like internally linked, very much so. Another one is I definitely have certain shows I love to rewatch. For me, of course, I love to rewatch things like silly Halloween movies, as simple as like Hocus Pocus. I saw Hocus Pocus 2 the other day with a good friend. Why is it escaping me? Oh, Practical Magic. I love to rewatch that one. I also always have to watch Nightmare Before Christmas at some point, normally like very much tail end Halloween into Christmas, maybe sometime in like, it's my like laster movie in the year. But then I also love to binge watch certain shows, because while I'm cleaning, while I'm getting stuff together, while I'm just doing art, having those certain things in the background feels a certain way for me. So in the last couple of years, I've definitely found myself always been binge watching Gilmore Girls all the way through like September, October, and then I have a whole bunch of fall, more like spooky movies and stuff that I definitely focus on in October. Then come like November, it's Anne of Green Gables, specifically the Netflix one. I started watching that not that long, like I think right when I moved here to Portland, so like that's now kind of become like my fall routine of the last 3-4 years. And then I also love to rewatch it as at Christmas time, as the winter time starts rolling around with the solstice and Christmas and all that. I really like to also then watch Downton Abbey. They're just good, comforting shows to me, and they're something that I can just like put on in the background, and as I'm doing other things, I thoroughly enjoy it. So yeah, they're just very simple traditions to me, and I find that that is one of the things that I might end up kind of passing down to my family and doing stuff with overall. I'm really into that because I think it's a very simple, easy thing that doesn't feel so grandiose to me. Because that's the thing I'm always constantly trying to do as well, is lower the barrier of entry to so many things. Because if it is a high barrier, I don't want to do the thing. Ever. I have to constantly trick my brain into starting anything, because if I actually try to jump right in and do the thing, I never do it. Something as simple as like today, my whole cleaning thing kind of started because I told myself, okay, you have to wash at least the first 5 dishes in your sink because it's ridiculous. Like it's kind of overflowing. At least that gets the process started. Of course, I end up washing every single dish that's in the sink after that. But I had to tell myself 5. With these videos so often, with doing YouTuber and all that, it's just film 1, just film 2. Just, you know, turn the camera on and say a few things. You can finish filming it later. It's fine. And often I end up filming a couple of videos or editing a couple. You know, like it definitely was that spiral situation. And so the barrier of entry, specifically with making little traditions or doing nice little fun things, and then mixing them more in so I can create more of that witchy inspiration like I talked about in a previous video, I think really is a great time. So anyway, I'm gonna go finish the last of my little soup. I will put the rest of this huge tub in the fridge, and it will be some of my lunches for work the rest of this week. And I'm gonna go watch a couple more episodes of Gilmore Girls while eating this, and then finish folding some laundry for the day. And yeah, so what's your favorite fall meal to cook? All that in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.